welcome back to another episode of the Asphalt Entrepreneur. This morning we got Steve Coffin up in Bangor, Maine, with Harvey Paving and Sealcoting. How you doing, Steve?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good, good. Enjoying the cold weather. I know you said you don't have any snow yet. We just had a little bit the other day, but maybe an inch, 2 inches.
Yeah. I mean, we got like a little dusting here a couple weeks ago, but
Yeah,
most of it's all up north.
which is highly unusual, right? I mean, you should have snow by now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last few years winters here have been, you know,
Crazy,
not what they used to be.
right?
So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
So let's get started. Well, let's try to tell everybody how you started in the industry, what made you decide to get into the industry. Um,
um, get it. I was actually tricked, believe it or not. But this company was uh, my wife's father's company,
yeah,
and back when I met her in '94, and in '95, she goes, "Oh, you should come work for my dad." At the time I was working at a little redemption center making like, I don't know, $6 an hour or 5.75, whatever. You know, I said $9 an hour. Oh, geez, that sounds great. Yeah, so I quit my job, went to work for him. Yeah, it was $6 an hour. So I'm like, okay, and it was, I'd never done this type of work, the paving, the ceiling, so I'm like, okay. And then, my father-in-law, God bless him, he would work 7 days a week.
yeah,
He was, at the time, he had no competition here for sealing,
right,
nothing. Um, so I guess, well, I'm here, I might as well tough it out. Uh, Fast forward in 2010, he stopped by and he says, "I'm retiring. It's all yours. I'll get back to you with the specifics." Uh, so you know, he financed me. I know he financed me the business, but I like to say he financed me an opportunity.
right,
Because you know, uh, and he taught me, for the most part, everything from the ground up. When I first started, I was hauling the buckets, running the broom. Uh, Moved up to sealing, then started doing the sales, to lining it up, to doing the work, so that by the time, within a couple of years to him retiring, he just stayed home and we went and made the money.
right. So you were fortunate enough that you essentially came into the business that was already had equipment. You didn't have to start.
Yeah. I mean, he was a well-established name, had a good name, good reputation. Um, so anything, when I first started from him, if there was sealing going on, whether it be driveways or parking lots, it was done by him.
Right.
Yeah. Nowadays there are, there's more people out there doing it now, on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
There's another guy up the road that he does okay, maybe not to the extent that I do a year, but he's my closest competition, but he's a friend of mine and we work together. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, when it comes to, you said you do you bucket and squeegee still or brush or do you spray it?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've got, that I use on a consistent basis. I've got a 1 ton with a 550 tank on it, and another 1 ton with a 300 tank. Um, and given that most of the work, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the market here in Bangor, but it's mostly driveways. There, some parking lots, but um, you know, for what I got for a crew, we can do, just the way that we do it, we can do it fairly easy. I mean, it's, I know it's quicker with a spray unit. Just people in this area prefer the squeegee applied.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's not downing anybody that sprays. It's just, what the market is here.
Yeah. I always think that's like the funniest debate ever. Like, you should be spraying, you should be squeegeeing, you should be brushing. Like,
Yeah,
this is
the only way that I've found that probably spraying has a, you know, an advantage over me is if, like, say in this area, if a hotel or something like that has an inspection coming up
right.
and they just want to make it black,
Yeah.
it's just to pass the inspection. Of course you can bust it out quicker with spraying.
Right.
So, you know, on the other hand, I can beat their prices because I'm the only one that has a bulk tank.
Right. Yeah. That was another question I was gonna ask. Like,
Yeah,
so
I
far up
can.
in Maine, you have your own tank. There's no supplier up there. Or,
Yeah, years ago we used to, when I first started, my father-in-law used coal tar.
yep.
Um, Maine's gotten, as a matter of fact, I think it's this coming year, maybe I think that they're basically banned coal tar. So I had to get a little bit of a jump on it because people like the coal tar because I mean I hated working with it, but the stuff lasts forever.
Right.
You know, it's so I went through a couple different suppliers as to I have a not gonna lie, when I buy something I don't want to wait 3 weeks to get it.
Right.
Um, so I started using Seal Master because that was I did a Sam's Club up here a few years ago, and that's what they required um, for a product. First time I've ever heard that, but that was part of the stipulations for it. Um, and they got it up here like within 3 days. And now if I order, doesn't matter if I want, 50 pallets, no problem. When do you want it? So they've treated me really well on,
Yeah.
what I need when I need it.
So did you switch over to AE? Is that what you're doing?
I use the PMM.
Oh, yep. Yep.
Yeah.
How's it hold up in the winters up there?
It I found that, if for driveways that's been sealed once, you know, fairly it holds up well, but on the ones that never had a coat of sealer on it,
Yep.
it's unless you're doing double coats, they should be doing it again the following year, and then you're pretty good.
Gotcha.
I'm, the problem is with that stuff laying it by hand, it dries quick.
Yeah. I've heard that.
It's so when you get much up above 75, it's you're racing.
Right.
So I'm kind of I'm talking to my rep about maybe using Master Seal, trying to
Yep.
find something that's going to be a little bit easier on us because I'm knocking 50. My other guy, he's not far behind me. So we got to make it easier on us
Right.
and
Yeah.
still do the same
Yeah.
process.
Yep. Now, is there a distributor up that way, or is it only in Portland?
There's Craftco in Portland and PMM. I mean Seal Master in Portland.
Yep. So other than that,
But
there's nothing north of Portland. So any of your competition has to travel to Portland. A couple of
well, there's a guy that sells it down the road. He sells the Action Pave from Craftco.
Yep.
And I don't really get into selling because there's just no money in it. Selling it, it's just not worth it for me.
Yeah.
I'd much rather lay it. Um, and I don't want to step on his toes because until I started using the bulk tank, he treated me right, and so
Yep. Yep. So question with as far as somebody starting up, like you always see on the forums, everybody wants to know how to start up, and everybody usually bashes their questions. Like
oh yeah.
everybody started this at some place. But as far as starting up, if you were to start out fresh, starting scratch zero, what would be the first thing you think you'd buy?
The first thing that I would buy is, I mean, you can start small, start used. I would never go to a tote. I realize it's probably the cheapest way that you can do it.
Yeah.
But I've seen where they got these little, 100-gallon or 150-gallon units that you can put on the back of a pickup, fairly inexpensive. Start driveways, you know, and then kind of go from there and keep investing a little bit more, because most of this stuff, honestly, this year, within your biggest expense is probably going to be a truck.
Right.
Um, Hire people that care about your company, pay them well, give them bonuses whenever you can. But I would start small, because and pick the right driveways that have, 2-3 coats of sealer on them. But as a general rule, if you're going to stick with driveways, a 300-gallon tank, a 1-ton, a little M10, your blower and depending on what you want to do, if you want to spray or whatever. But
Right.
a 300-gallon tank can do quite a few driveways if you're,
Definitely can. Yep.
you can do $5,000-6,000 a day with a 300-gallon tank, depending on your market.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that people don't understand. Like, it's a great industry because you can make a ton of money of very little investment.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're good, do a good job, Don't try to
And,
screw anybody.
and that's just it. Like myself, the I always ran M10s for driveways and parking lots up
Yep,
until last year. I came across a few jobs that I needed. They were 6, 7 to 15,000 lineal feet of cracks.
yep,
Buddy of mine that has a paving company up the road, he had a sim line uh, kettle, and I said, well, why don't you let me borrow that? Or I paid him a rental fee, and
yeah.
he let me borrow that. And I was like, I am all done kettles. Uh, it was crazy. So and last year at the end of the year, I bought a Craftco 125 used one
Yep,
to kind of test the market. First day out this spring, paid for it, paid for itself and then some.
right.
Um, Kept using that. Bought another used Craftco, uh, a non-compressor unit. First day out, that paid for itself.
Yeah.
Uh, Towards the end of this year, I got tired of using used stuff, so I bought a Crack Pro 125.
Yeah. Now, is there a big difference? I've heard everybody loves the
Oh,
crack.
oh, insanely big difference.
Really?
I, I, I will. I mean, I still have one of my Craftcos, but I would never go back to, and it's not bashing Craftco or anything, but I
Yeah.
mean, the heat up time, I can heat up my Crack Pro in about a half hour. The counterbalance on that, I on the hose,
Yep.
just I mean, it's night and day.
Yeah. Yeah. I've used the craft goal, the super shots.
Yep,
And, I was talking to Ryan Anderson, which he's going to be on a little later today, actually. And he
yep,
was thinking about the crack pro, and I'm like, they really that better? But yeah,
yeah. Oh,
everybody says it.
it's crazy.
Yep.
And just soon as my biggest problem up here this year has been help.
Yep.
Uh, it was basically me and one guy this year, um, and that the we didn't do normally the normal amount that we can do,
Right.
uh, you know, uh, but uh,
So here's a
you know,
question. Yeah. Speaking of help, um, guys starting out, usually it's themselves, maybe a helper. You don't have to
mhm.
share numbers if you don't want, but what do you have? Like, what do you average a year? Say number of driveways. You don't have to throw out a number of profit numbers. Yeah.
It's I don't know the exact number of driveways on outside of this year. I didn't even come close, but on a average year, I can do with me and if I had two guys about 15,000 gallons.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's
Well, yeah, do the numbers on 15,000 gallons. Like, that's pretty
yeah.
good.
Well, we've had times there. I mean, like I don't know if you've ever been in the Bangor up to Ellsworth way, but we did a few years ago. We did a Jackson Lab, the new Jackson Lab in Ellsworth, and that was 4,000 gallons in 2 days.
Yeah.
And I couldn't keep up with the hauling to them, but I had three guys and I had to come back to Bangor to get the material. But
Yeah.
and as of right now, if I, crack filling is where the money's at, um, sealing's good. I got I spend a lot, probably more than what I should, but
Right.
if I don't spend it, Uncle Sam's going to take it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the the price per square foot is good.
What do you guys
Uh,
have to get that way?
um, I can get anywhere from depending, I mean, the surface and this and that. If it's binded or I can get anywhere from 30 cents on the low end to 50 cents a square foot.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah,
really
and if I travel out of town, I have a minimum. I'm not going to
yeah.
travel an hour away to do the same thing what I would here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I know
but
guys in our area are still charging 12, 13.
I was getting that in like '98.
Oh,
I
well,
it's crazy.
yeah, I will say most of the guys that are doing that are either startups the first year or so.
Mhm.
Well, there's a company
Yeah,
around that's kind of shady that still does that. And every time I talk to him, I saw him actually a few months ago at getting an oil change. There's no money in seal
Yeah.
coating. I'm like, that's because you're charging 10 cents a square foot still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I get it if you've got like a lot of competition or like, I think in Portland is probably there's like a ton of people that do it in the Portland
yeah,
area. But there's a lot more work there.
right.
I have no desire to work my way to the bottom.
Yeah, I
You know,
100% agree.
I have an old saying, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Yeah,
You know, I don't get rich. You know, I'm not making $1 million a year.
right.
But I got to make it worth my time to come out here and spend 7 days a week, either working on the crew, work because I work Saturdays selling.
Yeah,
Um, I've Saturdays and Sundays. I don't, you know, Sundays are generally parking lots where nobody's going to be there, and I can go look at it. It's empty.
right.
Saturdays, you know, I do it because people are home, um, so I can, you know, sell the job to their face instead of just sending something.
Right.
You know, go and look at it and say, hey, this is what you know. It's you know, I hate pricing jobs. I sell them. I don't, you know.
Right. Now
Uh,
that leads into another question of marketing. So obviously, you were fortunate enough to come into a business that was kind of going, good
yeah.
reputation.
Yep.
Um, road to where you are now, did you have to obviously you probably have to go knock on doors, all that stuff, but like what did you do to kind of get where you are now?
Um, I don't. I myself don't have time to knock on doors. I'm trying to hire a buddy of mine to do that to sell.
Yeah,
Um, but honestly, I mean, everything comes. A lot of it's word of mouth. I do a little bit, you know, through Facebook, and that's you know, Facebook. I do get my share. You know, maybe $50,000 or so worth of work.
yeah,
The bigger paving companies around here, they don't want to mess with sealant or
right.
cracking. So one of the bigger ones up the road that I was talking about earlier, he sends me all his sealing. If it's driveway, he just sends me a text, say, "Hey, call this guy, give him a price." If it's something there that he wants to make a little bit of money on, I give him the price. I do it, and he pays me when they pay him. Uh, you know, so it's I don't have to look for work as much anymore. It kind
Right,
of, you know, that's the good thing about not having to start up fresh.
right,
Um, but you know, so they use me because they know, you know, if there's a problem, I'm just going to go take care of it, even if I have to redo it all over again.
right. Yeah. Now, if you were to start over fresh from zero, what would you do? What would the first thing you do? Would you hit up neighborhoods, or what would you do?
Oh yes, go right down one street, drop cards on every driveway. If they're
Yeah,
not there, leave a price rate on the card,
yeah,
and you know, and like it just works out that much easier. Or if I get one on the street, put a sign up. It's old fashioned thinking, but I'm telling you,
it worked.
it worked just as good as anything else.
Yeah. I know when I started, I used to cherry pick driveways. I drive around and see like if the driveway looked horrible, I'm like, ah, heck
Yeah.
with that one.
Oh, my father-in-law would do a million of those a year.
Yeah,
You know, this is back before he would spend money on a wire wheel. Well, he actually never did. So we dig it out with a, you know, with a screwdriver, and you know, and I just said, "Gee, I can't make no money on these." So I stopped doing them, or I would, you know, I'm pretty good at flipping them onto, you know, if a driveway is not worth doing, I'll tell them save the money and, you know, either get it paved this year or save the money to paving.
right. Now your name's Harvey Paving and Sealcoating. Are you paving or are
Yep.
you subbing all your stuff out with paving?
I I've gotten I've gotten away back up until these last couple of years. They were the pave because everybody and their mother wanted to pave.
Right.
So the dollar amount kind of it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And there came a time there about 4 or 5 years ago, uh, where we were doing I don't know some like 7 to 10 ton little pass job by hand.
Right.
I turned around and everybody I was paying was watching me work. Yeah, that you know,
You had enough.
and yeah, I'm not, you know, I don't have a problem getting my hands dirty, but I'm paying. If
Right.
anything, you know, it's so I just kind of veered away. I would, um, you know, use little startup companies, and I'd still go be there.
Yeah.
You know, they, you know, so I helped several other companies start up. get on their way, and they did fairly well.
Yep.
They moved on, which I get it. But they always did good work for me. I paid them. I made a little bit of money, kept the seal customer. So and they would give me better rates than what
Yeah.
they probably could get now. But like right now, I mean, in this area, you could give away driveways at $300 a ton.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know,
So how many guys are going on your crew for seal coating? Three guys? Did you say?
normally that's what I run, but this year I could only get nobody wants to work.
Right.
So I got one guy that I've worked with for off and on for over 20 years. So we work pretty well together. We just go to a job, we know it needs to be done and get it done.
Yep.
So it was just me and one guy.
Yep.
Um, I took very good care of him. That's because he was the type. Even if I tried to grab the squeegee, he's grabbing it out of my hand the minute he gets 5 seconds to get on the edges. So he got paid really well.
Yeah.
But so I
Well,
just yesterday I hired my son back for next year.
yeah. Now, what's your plans for you want to maintain, grow? What do you want to do for the future? What's your plans for?
Uh, I mean, I invested quite a bit this year. Um, I bought a used SR 700.
Yep.
Um, and I'm probably gonna buy. I want to have that taken off the trailer and mounted onto, like, say, a 450. Because I don't like hauling trailers around. I'd much rather have a truck. But
Yep.
um, I got everything I need. So I mean, I don't, outside of maybe a new truck, which I kind of cheap. So I don't like spending. Right now, as you probably guess, new trucks are through
It's
the roof.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've in the past couple of years, I spent more, than I have in years in the past. But I'm kind, it's been a regroup, uh, kind of plan things a little bit differently, adjust for whatever the market is and what the
Right.
call is.
Yep. A truck over
You
trailer.
know,
You said you prefer a truck instead of the trailer. What's the
yeah.
what do you think the
Well,
advantage?
they're just, yeah. I mean, just the trucks are, you know what I mean. Having that trailer, like I say, I already got two trucks. Having that trailer doesn't really do anything but take up more space.
Right.
So, and it's honestly going to be a backup, you know,
Yep.
because like I say, I don't spray, but it's easier to lay it down, even just the beads down with the sealer, as opposed to hauling a bucket.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So it's kind of about making things easier going forward for somebody at my age.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always had the truck. I have the E450 with a 550
Hmm.
on it. And
Yeah.
every season when it's time to inspection, registration, fluid changes, all that stuff, I'm like, man, I freaking hate this truck. And
Well,
I'm gonna get a trailer. I'm gonna get a trailer. Then once it's all said and done, ready to go, I'm like, sticking with the truck.
yeah, yeah. It's much easier. I mean, my both my F350s are O1s,
Yep.
but they don't get run in the winter.
Right.
Um, and I don't let sealer build up on them. We clean the sealer off, and most people don't even realize they're O1s
Right.
because we keep them clean, keep them looking good. They're in the end they're seal trucks, so they're not going to look brand new. But uh, one of them we bought used, and that one still has under 100,000 miles. The other one was bought brand new, and that one don't even have 40,000 on it yet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so everything's local. You know what I mean. So it's hard to get a lot of miles if you're staying local.
Yeah, no, I would think where you are, because I'm like I said, I told you before, I'm originally from Jay,
Yep,
which is, I mean, not too far from you. What, probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours.
an hour and a half,
Yeah.
maybe 2 hours, depending on how you drive.
And when I found out you're from Bangor, I was like, wow, I assumed, which I guess I should know, your radius was going to be astronomical, but not really. I mean,
No,
Bango's
I mean,
huge, I guess, right?
I stay. generally in my area, the Bangor, Brewer, Old Town, Orono, Corinth, you know what I mean? That area, but I've gone down to the coast. We used to go to Greenville, and stay a week at a time.
Yeah,
We've gone, I don't know if you're familiar with it. Years ago, we used to go up to Wittipit Lock, Danforth,
yeah,
and we drop, we do every driveway in the town, all the parking lots, so we easily burn 4,000 gallons in a week,
right, yeah,
but
yeah,
now I don't really go up that way because nobody wants to spend any money up that way, and I can't go up work for free.
right, yeah. Here's a couple of questions. One that I see all the time is everybody wants to get into commercial. Can you explain a little bit why? Like, I mean, I feel probably the same way you do. Commercial is great, but down here, there's some big companies like TNK, US Asphalt,
Yeah,
US Pavement,
yeah.
who have that market cornered. And I mean, they charge pennies. I mean, you can
Yeah, US.
driveways.
I've done work. I've done some paving work for US Pavement before. Um, when they first kind of started wanting to get up into the main area,
Yep.
not sealing and not crack filling because they don't want to pay anything.
Right.
Um, we did a Walmart here in Palmyra for them, and some bank in Lewiston or something. But from my understanding, US Pavement owns a Seal Master distributorship that way.
Yeah, they own the
And
one around here. Yeah,
I'm
they
not
just
getting into it too much, but I
yeah.
guess
Let's
there's
not bring that
some
up.
clamoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some clamoring, but I'll leave it at that. So yeah, as far commercial is great, but you gotta sometimes those commercial can take 30, 60, 90 days.
Yeah, yeah.
So you gotta have something in between that will pay you when you're done because you got to pay your bills, your men. If I did commercial all summer, I couldn't do it. I don't. When I get up to, I'll be honest, if I get up somewhere around 100 grand owed to me, I get pissy.
Right. I don't believe it.
I pay my bills. I pay my bills no matter what. If I owe somebody money, I chase them down to pay them because I don't like owing money.
Right.
Um, and it's I would take all the commercial I can get my hands on, but to do those that I've seen people doing, I think, well, not this year, but last year I was getting 30 cents on 90,000 square foot lots.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
And
unbelievable.
I did a Burlington, you know what I mean? I can't work for free. I mean, you got to have your standards. Okay. Everybody has a different pay scale, whatever they got for cost. Um, but if I'm going to go out and just work to pay my guys and my bills, what's the sense of doing it? I don't have, I can go work somewhere else and make, sitting on my backside, make 100 grand a year just selling
Right.
for somebody else.
Yeah.
So why am I gonna, it's, have your own standards, as far as what you're willing to work for, but you gotta, I understand when you first start out, you maybe have to be a little bit under to get your name out there, put the
Right.
signs up, web pages, which is, I had a guy do mine. I just had one done 2 years ago, finally, after however many years. Um, and it paid for itself in a week.
Right.
I get enough on it. I only pay like $150 hosting fee, whatever it is. Um, but
Yeah.
and get QuickBooks, whatever your preferred method is.
Right.
Um, even though I'm an old school guy, I'm slowly getting into the, you know,
Still got notebooks.
yeah, yeah, and I still, the only problem I had, and I'll be honest with you, the last up until this year, uh, since COVID, we got crazy.
Yeah.
The money went, of course, my costs went up, um, but I still turn down mostly because it's the driveways aren't worth it. $150,000 a year worth of work.
Wow.
as far as yeah, if the driveway or parking lot ain't worth it, I'm not going to take the money. I
Yeah,
don't need it that bad that I'm going to waste their money on something that should be paved.
yeah. I've done the same thing before with driveways and stuff. I've told people like, I mean, I'll do it if you want, but you're just
Yeah,
basically driving down the road throwing money out the window.
yeah,
Let's not do
yeah,
it.
and
And they
most of them,
actually love that.
and I'll give them a high number because I don't want to do it, and I'll explain to them, listen, this is wasting your money. You want to pay me, $1,500 on a $700 driveway, no problem. But understand, when I'm gone, don't call me because I can't. I'm going to be twice the amount of labor, twice the time on the driveway that I should be out of here in an hour. I you know,
Yeah,
and usually it works, and sometimes they'll pay much to my disgruntled,
right. Yeah.
I want to do it.
I think the past couple minutes that you said two good things that I always see pop up with pricing. One,
Mhm.
you got to come up with your own price based on your overhead. What are your
Yep.
expenses? Like,
Yep.
you can't throw out, oh, I'm gonna charge 12 cents a square foot. Like, are you making any money? Like, you
Yeah.
got
Well,
to.
there was a little guy around here. Um, he worked for kind of a bigger outfit up up north, but he was doing it off his own. He had like a little 200-gallon tank or whatever on a trailer. Um, he was charging like 12 cents. 12 cents. And he's been doing it for a couple of years. And I'm like, I'm figuring out the price that they're paying where he was buying it. And I'm like, okay, you're spending this much uh, at 12 cents. Okay, I get it a little bit, but you're working, you can go work for somebody else and have no, and make the same money
Right. Yeah.
and not tie anything up by some gas mileage to get to work.
Yeah. And another thing you said, about COVID, the pricing, that was like a
Mhm.
blessing to me also. Cause like for the last few years, I've always been between 22 and 28 cents a square foot for
Yeah,
driveways.
yeah,
Um, but there was guys, like I said, 10, 15. Well, now this year they couldn't be there because I mean,
yeah,
it went from $1.81 a gallon for coal tar to
yeah,
now asphalt emulsion we're at just about $4.
yeah, yeah. And
It's
coal tar,
really good
that's
money.
if you could get it.
Right? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I, you know, I don't miss working with coal tar.
Yeah. Me either.
I really don't. Um, Even though, people can say what they want about it, I realize it's got a downside, but there ain't much that lasts like coal tar.
But yeah, oh God, no. I have
You
some
know,
driveways. I check every single year. It's going on like year 5 or 6, and I
yeah,
personally know the guy. And then whenever I see him, I'm like, Kevin, your driveway, do you use it? Like it's not wearing off. You can see where he has a snowblower going on it from
yeah,
grinding the metal, but like,
yeah.
it is.
We used to order out of Star Seal out of New York
Yep.
years back, but and I think even back way back when I think he said he was paying 89 cents a gallon bulk.
Yeah.
But at that time for driveways, he was getting $1 a square foot. Parking lots were right around 55 to 60 cents a square foot. Um, but again, labor was a lot cheaper. Fuel was like $1 a gallon.
Right.
You know what I mean? And even then, when I worked for about 3 years on the crew, um, and I wanted to change a pace. I'm like, give me a truck. Let me go. I kind of watched him how, figured out, okay, this is how you price it. Yeah. Let me go. Give me a day to go sell. I want to try this.
Yeah.
First day out, I came back with 16 contracts. He said, "Yeah, you're going to get off the drug. You're going to be off the crew for a bit." Because he had another salesman that honestly was just kind of wasting his money. But so I went from that to selling and working on the crew at day, go sell it in the afternoon, weekends.
Yep.
Um, Now I kind of, I'll be honest, there's times I don't like selling, but it comes with the territory.
I do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So listen, I don't want to take you time much longer. It's about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Uh, any last thing you want to say to the guys starting up? Like, keep at it.
Um, just be honest with your customers, it, know your worth. If you can do good work, and I'll be work with your competitors.
Yeah.
It's,
100%
like
agree.
I say, I actually, my cousin does a little bit of sealing. He bought a used, which is the one I bought. SR 700 a couple years. I didn't tell him what to bid as far as, I said, you should be in this area. You know, there's a lot of variables, but, and he did really well, and if I needed help, he would come help me. If he needed,
Yeah.
if he needed help, we'll go help him. It's just, in today's market, you got to kind of get along with your competition.
I think that's a perfect statement right there. It's like in order to move this industry along, you gotta
Yeah,
be kind of friendly with your competitors to
yeah,
get the pricing
and
moving in the right direction.
yeah, and get in with the paving companies that don't see it.
Right.
Let them make a few bucks off you. Who cares?
Yep.
You know what I mean? As long as you're making money and they can keep you busy.
Yep. Just funnel the work. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the way of the world now. No, I mean, yeah, we're, like I said, the guy at the road, we're competitors, but if he needed one of my machines, come grab it. Don't worry about it.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
You
That's
know, and he's done the same to me. I needed one of his and he said, go grab it. So I asked him how much he wanted. He said, don't worry about it.
yep. That's the
You
that's the
know,
main way though.
yeah, yeah. I get it. Maybe certain markets, maybe you might not want somebody coming taking your, 50, 60, $100,000 machine, but if you know the people well enough, I'm pretty sure you got some competition around there that you wouldn't mind helping or working with on certain projects. It's just,
Yep.
know your competition, know which ones can be trusted
Right.
and which ones can't.
Perfect. Well, that's some good stuff there. Again, I'd like to say thanks. It's the first time we're getting this rolling out. It's an idea I've had since 2018, and
Yeah,
then I
yeah,
see. I talked to Marvin a lot in Blacktop Banter.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, I was telling him the other day, I'm like 2018, I had this idea, and he's like, I had the same idea in 2018. That's when I first started. I think he called it like pavement talk or something like that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Now my
I've
kids,
seen a few of his videos. Yeah,
yeah, now my kids are old. I got some time. I'm gonna start it up. He's like, just do it.
yeah,
I'm starting back.
yeah. I don't blame you, man. It gets, a little bit of different
Hard.
perspective from different areas and,
Right.
uh, applications and,
Yep. Yeah. Hopefully help some people out and do some
yeah.
good along the way.
Well, no matter how long you're in it, if you don't learn something every day, you're in trouble.
Very good point. So, all right. Thanks again, Steve.
All right, brother. Be safe.
All right. You too. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.